Hello everybody, Timothy Bailey with Project Learn with our video for today. So in a previous video, we had looked at sort of an American culinary classic, a favorite, a grilled cheese sandwich. Today we're going to look at another American classic, but this time for breakfast. So I talked about American meals, what many of us like to eat, and this breakfast classic is often something on the weekend or maybe on a holiday or something. It takes a little more time than maybe people might use when they have to hurry up and go to school or to work. Although it doesn't take a whole lot of time. Today we're going to look at these. We are going to look at pancakes, right? Pancakes. And pancakes is pretty descriptive of a word. This is a compound word, which means it's made up of two smaller words. So we have the word pan, which you'll see in a little bit, and then the word cake, which you know, right? Things like birthday cake, right? So really, if you look at it and you think about it, if you've ever had pancakes, they're little cakes that we have for breakfast, okay? That we make in a pan, and you'll see those in a second. Now you can go to the store and you can buy a box of pancake mix, and maybe you just add water, mix it up, and then make them. But today we're going to look at making them from scratch or homemade. This means I am not using a box. I am getting all the ingredients together, I am mixing them myself, and then I am cooking the pancakes. And a lot of people, if they enjoy cooking, like to do things from scratch. So let's jump in first and look at some of the cooking or kitchen tools that we will need to make pancakes. So you're going to need one of these, right? This is called a measuring cup. A measuring cup. And in the United States, we typically use cups here. And sometimes recipes will be in ounces. Right? So maybe 1 cup, and you fill it up either with the liquid or some other substance to this line, 3/4, 1/2, and 1/4 of a cup. And then over here, 2/3 and 1/3. Okay. On the other side, you can't see it. On the other side, there are the milliliters, right? The measurements. So we need a measuring cup. We also need these, right? These are called measuring spoons, right? Measuring spoons. And the abbreviations here, so this is tablespoon. These here are teaspoon. And they also give you the milliliters underneath, right, which is nice. So 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, 1/2 a teaspoon, and 1/4 of a teaspoon. Right? Now, if you're someone who's been cooking for a long time, or someone who's basically very good at cooking, you may not need the measuring cup and the measuring spoons. You may be able to just do it by looking or thinking about the recipe. Okay, for me, when I'm cooking things like this, when I'm baking, sort of, I really need to follow the recipe. Here we go. So if you remember the nouns in our kitchen video, where we looked at some of the nouns in Lucy and my kitchen, we looked at this, right? This is the pan. You might hear it called a frying pan or a skillet. So this is the part of pancakes that's at the beginning, pancakes, right? Little cakes we cook in this thing here. We're also going to need a bowl, right? I wrote big bowl just because I like a bigger bowl, because when you mix the ingredients, they don't go flying all over your kitchen, hopefully, right? So a bowl big enough to mix the ingredients in. I also used one of these. This is called a whisk. You do not have to use a whisk. You could just use a fork or some other kitchen tool to mix them together. And you will need one of these, right, to turn, or you will see flip the pancakes. And this is called a spatula. Spatula. All right, so let's look at the ingredients. Here's the recipe that I'm using. You can see the ingredients and the measurements. So 1.5 cups all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon, and 1/2 teaspoon baking powder, and it goes down through them down here. The only one I did not include because I did not have it was the melted butter. I included a little bit of oil instead, which works just fine. So let's look at the ingredients. Here's the flour, okay? Now, this sounds, for those of you working on pronunciation, this flower sounds exactly the same as the beautiful flowers you might see in spring, Flower. For pronunciation, it is the same, okay? So this is cooking flour. Notice they said on the recipe all-purpose flour. I have all-purpose flour. Mine is unbleached, so they have not bleached it and made it so that it's sort of sanitized, I guess. Right? You can use either one, it doesn't matter. I also added, which was not on the recipe, a little bit of this. This is called vanilla extract. And mine is, if you see here, imitation, which means it's not from the real vanilla plant, which is this, right? Because the real vanilla extract is quite a bit expensive, so I was cheap and I bought the imitation, right, for when I'm cooking. And this just adds a little bit more flavor. There are other things you can add. I often add cinnamon, right? So you could add, my nephew likes to add chocolate chips, right? So there are many additional ingredients that you can add. Here's the sugar, okay? Sugar, a big bag of sugar. There's the egg, right? Just one egg. Now let's look at the steps. So first, right, here's my measuring cup with some of the flour that I needed, about a cup. You're going to put all of the ingredients in your big bowl. So the egg, the butter, if you're using vanilla, if you're using cinnamon, a little bit of salt, right? You're going to put all these ingredients in your big bowl. Then, you can see here, all my ingredients are there. You're going to whisk all of the ingredients together, or mix all of them. Right here, I'm using the word whisk, not as the noun, this is the whisk, but as the verb. So a whisk is like some other tools, like a hammer, right? Hammer can be the noun or the verb, or a saw, which can also be the noun or the verb. So you could say, I am whisking with the whisk. And that's why the picture is a little blurry here, because I'm actually doing it. Once the ingredients are all mixed, when you are done mixing the ingredients, this is called batter, right? Batter, right? Notice, for those of you working on pronunciation, the double T's, particularly in American English, change to a D sound, so batter, right? And this is for anything that you're baking, right? I know we're not really baking here, but it's the same principles, right? So if you're making a cake or cookies, once you've mixed the ingredients, this sort of wet and sort of soupy mixture here is called batter, right? All right, so moving on to the next step, I need to put some oil, right, in the pan, okay? I don't use a lot, right, just enough to sort of get on the bottom, and I move it around, so right now it's just sitting in there, but move it around so it covers the bottom of the pan. Here's the oil, right? Your oil might be a different kind, that's okay. You want to stay away from, though, things like olive oil, which are good for cooking savory foods, but sweet breakfast foods, not so much. So they're cooking on one side, right? You want to make sure the burner, this is the burner, and there's one underneath this pan, right? Make sure the burner is on medium or medium high, not too high or they'll burn quickly, and not too low or they'll take forever and not quite cook right. After they cook on the one side, you will need to flip the pancakes. So using my spatula, I'm going to flip them over, turn them over. You will see little air bubbles, and that tells you it's about time to do that, right? You can see the little bubbles forming in the top where there's still the wet batter, okay? That means it's time to turn them. So when they're all done cooking, right, we have this that we need to add. This is the syrup. You can see it down here, right? This is just the brand that we like, Log Cabin Syrup. You might use another brand, right? Aunt Jemima is a popular one. The bottle looks like a lady, right, on the front. You might also use real syrup, so just like the real vanilla extract, real syrup is really nice, but it is, however, quite a bit more expensive than doing this. So maybe if you're making pancakes for a special treat or something, go ahead and buy the real syrup. Then when we're done, we're back to these, right? And here are our pancakes finished on the plate. You can make them bigger if you want or smaller if you want. I tend to like them a little bit smaller and just throw a few on the plate. The last step, what is the last step? Can you think? The last step, just to eat them and enjoy them, right? All right, I have a couple links here for you. The first link has some kitchen utensil vocabulary that's very nice with some pictures. And then the second link here has some cooking vocabulary, and it also has a recipe for making a vanilla cake. I hope this was helpful. Make some pancakes for you and your family and enjoy them. Thank you and have a good day.